Hi all, I'm Ryan. Welcome back to my garage. So this week, I've got a problem. I've recorded footage over the weekend of me working on the electrics of the bike because I hadn't received the deliveries to work on the compression on the engine, and I've just gone to edit all the footage and I found my camera's lost most of the videos, and some of the videos I've got no audio. So with that in mind, I'm just going to put together a short selection of what I do have available, just to let you know that I haven't forgotten about you. The project is progressing. I have put the effort in, I just don't have the footage to prove it. So with that, I am sorry. Please, any likes you can give me for my effort at least would be appreciated. I'm going to carry forward. See you next week. So I've just given you an idea of what I'm about to do this weekend. I've got two wiring looms. I've got the top one came with the bike as originally purchased, mostly complete, although someone's hacked the ends off of the indicators and tried to number them up, but it's still confusing. However, that one's dirty and it's unravelled. It doesn't look like a particularly good condition loom. Last week in a box of bits I bought came a replacement loom, and this one looks much neater, looks better condition. So at first glance I think, right, I'm going to use this loom, I'm going to take the indicator cables off of the old one, splice them onto the new one, create a better loom. Then I look at the light controls, and initially they look okay, and it's got the standard connection on it, looks in good condition. But then I noticed these very strange extended cables that someone's put on at some point. Mismatch of wires, connectors I can't make any sense of, so presumably it must have been extended at some point in the past. I need to take all that out. I need to put it back to as close to standard as I can. Don't need any of this, thank you. Then yeah, so the first thing I do is I get the multimeter out and I just buzz out the loom, make sure there's no obvious breaks in it, and don't want to find them, thank you. And disconnect what I've got from the components. They're going to need attention, they're going to need a clean up, but that's for a later time. So now, got the two looms, putting them on the floor, comparing them carefully, and I noticed damage on the loom I want to use. There's a broken pin, someone has previously bypassed it, they've put a bullet connection in. And that's not what I want. I don't want to have to instate a bodge. So with that in mind, I set about extracting the pin, and I find to my pleasure it's not broken. It was just snapped off immediately behind. So I take the pin, I reattach it to the original wire and reinstate it again. So now I've got the connection back to standard. So one problem I've just encountered is that the actual plastic plugs on the end of the better wiring loom are shot. This one's crumbling and falling apart. Whereas if you compare it with the same connector on the other loom, you'll see it's much better. This is a completely different plastic, even though the shape and size is identical. So what I need to do is to remove these plugs and reuse them. Now, I didn't have any method of opening these up and pulling the pins out, so I've just created this. So I don't know if you can see that, but that's I just used an old hacksaw blade and just ground it down so that the end is straight and narrow, which now fits perfectly inside that gap there on the connector. So now to depin them, all you need to do is apply a little pressure on the back, take this connector, slide that in, and then it pulls out. So now I can just individually change these over. So I've now finished replacing the ends, so I've got much better connection plastics on the end. So we follow the wiring loom down, we get to the point whereby the rear indicators have been cut out. So I've just harvested the right cables out from the other loom that I've got, reattach those, put some heat shrink on, and I think she's good to go. So here we go, super fast forward, wish I could work this quickly, stripping back the connections, tinning them up, soldering them individually, putting some heat wrap on each individual wire, and just making sure the connections are good, solid. They're not going to short on each other. Certainly no electrical engineer, but I'm pretty pleased with the way I've managed to finish this off. So having gone through all of them, here we go. Here's a quick close-up look at the cables when they're done, and I'm explaining how I've done it and what the result is, and they're all nice and neat and secure. Original cables, right gauge, right colours, reconnected, which results in a wiring loom that I'm happy with. So I've changed the ends. It's got ends on it now which are solid. The loom itself is complete. All the wires are in place. Everything I need, I think, is back to as close to standard as I'm capable of making it. So I'm really pleased with that. And then turn my attention to the headlamp, taking all those long cables that shouldn't be on the back of the headlight, stripping them out, looking at the book, trying to understand where everything should connect, and then just neatening it up, shortening it down, and trying to get it back to how I think it should be. Okay, that's me pretty much done for this week. So it's a long time consuming task, but I now think that the wiring loom is all ready. So obviously the throttle, lights, engine switch comes through this connector into the loom. You've got the instrument panel connected back through these connections here that I've changed. You've got the headlight now connected on direct cables, so you know, white's reconnected to white, blue to blue, earth to earth. That goes and appears to plug into the back of the light unit itself. This brown here is meant to be connected via this connection, which is apparently a constant live, so that your park light is running all the time. And this blue cable here apparently is the high beam indicator. So it's correct for that, and that to be on just push-in bullet connections. Everything else appears ready. So with that said, I'm going to pack up and speak to you again next week.